Today, I'm going to be revealing my top tip to ensuring you do not fail the Oxbridge Maths interview. My name's Jamie and I studied maths at the University of Oxford, and now I help students all across the globe who are looking to study maths at university, and I help them with their applications to get into Oxford and Cambridge. Over 80% of the students I work with end up receiving Oxbridge offers. If you're interested, link in the description below. Anyway, what is this big tip? So, when it comes to interviews, one of the biggest things that they're looking for is explanation skills. How well can you communicate your mathematics? So, you have so many people across the globe who are really, really good at maths when it comes to an exam. So, when it comes to sitting down in an exam hall, they can get 100% every single time. Great. But that's not really what Oxbridge are looking for. That's maybe what a lot of students have. That's not the thing that they're looking for. One of the key things they're looking for is the ability to learn. And in Oxford and Cambridge, they have a very unique system where they teach students in small groups. In Oxford, it's called tutorials, Cambridge, called supervisions. And one of the things that's required of students is to be able to obviously speak and talk about maths during these tutorials or supervisions. Also take on feedback, those sorts of things. And these are the things that they can kind of look for and assess in interviews. What is one thing I, as a tutor, see sometimes with students, which I think is definitely going to hold them back in an interview, is explanation. You want to be able to explain your thoughts clearly and effectively. Now, what's a really, really good way to do this? Well, if they ask you a question and you know the answer to it, is not just to dive right into the algebra and start solving it, it's to give what I call a 10-second summary. So you want to give the interviewer a 10-second summary of your answer. So let's say they give you the problem. Can you find the area underneath this curve? And they give you a function or something, and you go, okay, cool. I think I know how to do this. In your head, you're thinking, okay, cool. I think I know how to do this. So what do? You say to the interviewer, okay, cool. To work this out, what I'm first going to do is sketch the graph. And once I've got the sketch, I can realize where it crosses the axes. And then what I'll know is, the limits or the bounds between, to find the area from. And then I'm going to integrate the function. So in less than 10 seconds, I've explained very clearly to the interviewer what thoughts have gone on in my mind, what I'm thinking about, and how I'm going to approach this problem. So that way they know, firstly, how I'm thinking, and that's what they're trying to do. The point of the interview is to get to understand how you as a mathematician think. And at the end of the day, if you don't talk, they can't read your mind. So you have to kind of think out loud. But also, it means that let's say you're approaching this the complete wrong way, or the way that they don't want you to approach this. Maybe they want want you to approach this a different way. They now know, and you're not wasting any time going through a method that isn't the way that they want you to solve this. So, crucially, what's important is to explain your thoughts out loud. It buys you a little bit of time. So, you can speak out loud for 10 seconds, and it gives you 10 seconds just to kind of confirm that that's the correct way of doing it. Secondly, it means that if you are going down the wrong path, they can maybe probe you in the right direction because they now know what you're thinking, and they can maybe go, oh, actually, have you considered this instead? And the reason, if you don't do this and if you just dive straight into the algebra and they have no idea where you're going with it, and you just go, cool, right, let x equal this, let da 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 da. If you make a mistake or you end up kind of going down the wrong path, it's going to be a bit embarrassing, firstly, but also they won't be able to guide you because they don't even know where you're going, which direction you're heading in. So you're kind of just giving a bit of in the same way, like a bit like a spoiler alert to book. You're basically saying, okay, here's what I'm about to do, and you summarize it in, I'd say, 10 to 20 seconds, maybe 10 to 30 seconds, depends on what the problem is. Now, obviously, this is dependent on if you know the answer, right? But it's kind of similar to if you don't know the answer, you still want to kind of give a summary or kind of a very brief summary of what you're thinking, so the thoughts you have. So you're just laying out your thoughts and ideas onto the table. Now, why is this actually also useful if you're preparing for admissions tests? So if you're preparing for the MAT or TMUA in particular, it might also help with other admissions tests, PAT, what are the other ones, like ESAT, those sorts of things as well. The reason that explaining your thoughts and getting used to giving a 10-second summary is useful is because it forces you to truly understand the concept, the problem. If you can summarize it as well, the key step to the proof, you're going to be able to remember it a lot better. It's kind of like when you take a whole book and you just summarize it into 5 bullet points, you now have a brief, concise summary of that book, and then you only need to remember those 5 bullet points. So what I'd recommend is maybe going through the theorems from the A-level course, or maybe just taking a previous MAT paper or TMUA paper that you've done, and then just going through one by one, simply just going, okay, let's take this problem. I've solved it. Cool. Let me now give a brief 10-second summary of the solution to this MAT problem. So maybe you can do this after you've solved it, or if you want to, you can treat it like an interview and look at the problem first and then go, okay, before I start writing it down, let me give a brief 10-second summary. And this is in particular useful in these exams, because when you sit down and do the exam, if you can actually like in your head, obviously you wouldn't be saying it out loud in the exam, but in your head, speak out loud the 10-second summary, but in your head, you're also going to convince yourself that that's the right path to go down. So you can go, okay, I want to differentiate. Because a lot of the time, let's not beat around the bush. The first time you look at an MAT paper, you're probably getting low scores. And realistically, what's happening is you see a question and you think, okay, I think I know a way to do it, and this problem is really hard, and I hate the fact that I'm getting embarrassed by this question because I'm used to solving problems in under 2 minutes. So because I've got a method in my head, I'm going to just start doing it. You've probably been there before. And obviously, sometimes it's worth just taking an extra 2 seconds to sit back and actually look at the question and go, okay, cool, no, there's actually this trick, which is going to save me some time. But also, more importantly, if you do give yourself a 10-second explanation, you can actually start to think about the steps in your head. You can start to think 2-3 steps ahead, and then you can see, well, okay, I could do this, but I can clearly tell it's going to be a lot of algebra. It's going to take me more than 10 minutes. This is probably not the way that they want me to do this. There's probably some slicker way, and if you spend another 10-20 seconds maybe staring at it, you could maybe spot something. And if not, okay, 10-20 seconds, oh well. You can then maybe either spend the 10 minutes on the algebra doing it, or move on, or whatever. But getting used to this 10-second summary is going to be very, very useful for the interviews. So you may as well implement it into your revision and preparation now. So when you're looking at a paper, doing a question, either if it's a past paper, after you've done it, give yourself a 10-second summary. So the best thing you could probably do is, let's say today you do a TMUA past paper, do it under time conditions, mark it, great, then maybe go over the questions you didn't get right and see what you did there. Then the next best thing you can do is go through the paper and give a brief 10, 15, 20-second summary of how you solve each question. And for this, you're not using your pen. Your pen stays on the table. You're just speaking. So you're looking at this question, you're going, okay, so the way in which I solve this question is firstly by considering a graph of this function, and then I would consider where the turning points are, and I'd work those out by differentiation, and then I'd use the fact that this blah 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 blah. You get the idea. So you are just giving the key steps and the key ideas in the proof, in the argument. Trust me, it will really improve your, firstly, explanation skills, but also be your thought and logic skills, because a lot of the time I see with students, they just dive straight and head first into the first method that comes into their mind, and that's the reason that they say it takes too long in these admissions tests, and that's the reason they keep running out of time. So if it's the case, give this a go. Give yourself a 10-second summary of each kind of question, and it's going to help you summarize that problem and remember the tricks and techniques for it. Anyway, I will leave another video on screen where I give you some advice for either some admissions tests or interviews. And as I say, I am an Oxbridge tutor. I help students who are looking to get into Oxford and Cambridge. Over 80% of the students I work with end up receiving Oxbridge offers. If you are someone who's planning on doing the TMUA, MAT or interviews, do get in touch today. Link in the description below.